Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
It is time once again for everybody to come aboard that Green Screens Media train. What is happening? You are now inside of One and Done, your fast break for all things college basketball, all things DFS, and all things everything. Just come here for everything. You're going to get it all from the Green Screens Media crew. My name is Jay Heinrich. I am the conductor of the aforementioned GSM train. Yes, toot toot indeed there, Mr. Romoff. You can follow me on Twitter at Dr. William Cannon. You can follow my guy, the captain, El Capitan of our ship, the OG Money Mike. You can follow him on Twitter at MCHolland34. The man, the myth, the legend, Mike Holland. Mike, what it do?
What up? What up? I was entering into the $44 2K to first, along with the $18 50K to first, as you were giving my beautiful intro here. So I apologize if my eyes weren't locked onto the screen there, but I'm ready to make some money, boys. I'm exhausted. This is what, day 4? Is this 4 in a row right here, or 3 in a row? I can't even count. After we went on that the old marathon run, we're back at it with I guess a 400 meter today. Hoping to come in first, but we got to beat out 10,000 people to win 50K, but that's okay. Somebody's got to win it. Why not us, right, Eric?
Why not? Why not us? Mr. @FantasyNav on Twitter, Eric Romoff, the Baron of Bread himself, live between the fern tonight. He's got one other shoulder. Although there's another. Oh, you got another one.
I can't get it.
Don't ruin your setup.
Let's be cool with it. What's up, Eric? How we doing tonight, man? You ready for this extremely large, extremely awesome, extremely potentially profitable slate tomorrow? You ready for this?
Yeah, this is the day that we've all been waiting for, right? 50K to first tournament, first one of the year, you and 10,000 of your closest friends. The good news is, though, this slate is completely wide open. So there are a lot of teams that are on the slate that we haven't been able to play throughout most, if not all, of the season. But you can really get to whoever you want to. So you have a lot of latitude, a lot of agency in how you put your builds together. Those are always the funnest slates. So I can't wait to dive in.
Absolutely. Like Mike alluded to earlier, that 50K to first would be pretty good. We're definitely going to fire some bullets at that one, as well as some of the other ones Mike mentioned. He got in the $44 2K to first. We're going to be all over this slate tomorrow, and we hope you are too. And that's why you are here watching One and Done, watching the best in the business right above me on the top row, break down this slate, the absolute best in the biz. You can get any kind of lineup going tomorrow. We're going to look at the winning lineup in this 50K to first, and it could be all over the place. We're going to talk about some different ways to approach this. There's going to be some blowouts tomorrow. We'll talk about how to approach that. We'll talk about stacking some games up. We'll talk about who to avoid. With 16 games on the slate, there'll be lots to choose from, and 24 players at 8K or more. But with 16 games, honestly, that seems like a pretty decent number to work with there. Usually we're talking about a 12-game slate with about the same number. You got 4 more teams just right off of that comparison to choose from, all different kinds of matchups. But like always, we are going to showcase a few games that are at the top of the projected point totals and sort of, beat around those a little bit and figure out how we want to approach this. If you are watching with us right now, or even if you're watching with this or watching this delayed, leave us a comment. Let us know what you're going to be getting into tomorrow on this DFS slate. Let us know who you are rooting for in the Big Dance trademarked. We do not own the rights to that March Madness either, but we're going to say it a lot today. So let us know in the comments what you're going to be up to tomorrow. I got to be at work tomorrow. I'm off at 4. I'm off on Friday, though. So I'll be all the way into that on Friday. So where do we want to start, boys? Why don't we start? Oh, one more thing before we get going on this showcase.
Oh, yeah.
If you have not entered our contest to win an autographed Colin Sexton basketball, get over to @GetGreenscreens on Twitter. Follow the instructions to our pinned tweet. It's pretty simple. You just got to subscribe to the Green Screens Media YouTube page. Pretty simple. Just hit that sub button right there, and retweet that pinned tweet. It's all you got to do. Get in the running for that Colin Sexton signed basketball. Do not wait. Do it now. Actually, you can do it after the show if you want or whatever. But make sure you get over there and get entered for that Colin Sexton signed basketball. Tell the hoop heads in your life about it. Get them entered too. Tell them to sub to this. We are bringing it all the way through the tournament. Now, let's get into those showcase games. We're going to start with those Utah State Aggies. First time on One and Done this year for that brand of Aggie, going up against those Missouri Tigers from the SEC. 162-point implied total here, Mike. We really love to see that at the top of the board. Utah State, 13th offensive efficiency, 64th defensive efficiency on KenPom's metrics, 110th in tempo. So even though we haven't, talked a lot about Utah State this year, Mike, we're going to play them a little bit. We're going to sprinkle them into lineups, especially since some of their better players are a little bit lower priced here. How do you think we should approach the Utah State Aggies in this matchup against Missouri?
Yeah, look at the price tags, man. You don't have anybody over 7,500, so that right there in itself is pretty awesome, right? When you have a team scheduled to score 80 points, right? That's what you want to see. On the other side, the pricing in this game is just really easy to get to make pretty much any type of stack that you want. So I'm going to be attacking this one heavily. Obviously, this is going to be a very popular game. Look, Utah State, they let it fly, man. One of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. Glad they got into the tournament. And now we're getting this awesome matchup with Missouri, who loves to run up and down and who loves to give up fantasy points. I mean, how many times have we talked about Missouri and, who we're playing? How many are we going 2-3 against them as far as stacking? And, yeah, this is another prime opportunity. First starts with Stephen Ashworth. He's 7,500. Been a little down the last couple of games, but man, this guy can drop a 40 or a 50 in a hurry. Just a really nice player, shooting 44% from 3 on 237 attempts. Missouri.
I love that.
Missouri, 347th in opponent 3-point percentage. So, I think that profiles pretty nicely in this spot. He also carries a 26% assist rate. Missouri gives up a ton of assists. He's a prime candidate here to bounce back from a couple of 20 spots and to jump right into those 40s that he's been doing. At 7,500, you'll love to see it. I would even take a 30, a 35 in a smaller tournament in the 44. But you probably want him to get up into that 40 in the big guy there for the 50K. Max Shulga is another guard here. He's 6,400. He carries a 21% usage rate. Does have a good assist rate. It's 23%, and he's shooting 37% from 3 on 141 attempts. So you like that as well. So if you want to save $1,100 and you want to try to leverage off of Ashworth, then I love that. You can play them together. You can pretty much play any of these guys together. Hell, you can play 3 of them if you want. You hope this game goes to overtime. This one's going to go way over this total. So, I'm looking at Shulga heavily as well. Dan Aiken, he's 6,000. Not as excited to play him. 16% shot rate for Aiken. I don't know, man. He's just kind of a guy that lives in the 3.5 to 4x range. Every now and then can kind of go off. That was in the Mountain West, right? So I don't really know, how much I'm going to be playing of Aiken because you look below him, and I'd rather play the cheaper options here. And you have Sean Bairstow, he's 5,500. 18% usage, you get a 20% shot rate, and he carries a 15% assist rate as well. So he's a guy that could easily go for 24, 25 in this spot. Like I said, using up to 3 guys in this matchup, I do not mind that. And then you also have Trevin Dorius. He's 4,600. He's coming off a really nice game. The couple of games that I caught of them this year, like, he is an interesting play. He is not guaranteed many minutes, so that's going to be the kind of in question here, whether he's going to get 10 minutes, whether he's going to get 20 minutes. Every time he seems to get minutes, though, like, this guy's a fantasy per minute, beast. So if he gets 18 minutes, like, you could see this guy going for into the 20s, which he did last game, got 20 minutes, scored 24 fantasy points. So he's a large field option. I'm playing a lot of lineups. I'll squeeze him in 1, maybe 2. I'm okay with Taylor Funk. Eric is, looking at his last couple of games, hadn't done much, right? I kind of love the guards, Barstow, Shulga, Ashworth. Are you in on Funk, and how much of him are you going to play?
Yeah, I am. I think it's fair to be a bit more bullish on the guards, just given how weak this Missouri side is against the 3-ball. With regard to how many assists they give up, right? That tends to shade towards the guard position. But Taylor Funk, the forward who came in from St. Joe's, I mean, he's got all the stats that you're looking for in a player that can take advantage of this matchup. His usage rate, it leaves a bit to be desired. He's 19% there. He's got a 25% shot rate. He's got a 20% combined rebound rate, right? You talked about these Utah State Aggies. They love to chuck up the 3-ball. Those long rebounds are a little bit easier to clear for a guy like Funk. So like him to get a few more boards. And he hands out dimes pretty well for a big man, 11% assist rate, 2% block rate. You love those bonus categories. But most importantly, 38% from 3 on 207 attempts, right? And he doesn't even lead this team in 3-point attempts, right? Usually we're talking about guys that have 140, 150 maybe 3-point attempts on the season as their team leader. As a forward, he's chucking up 207 attempts on the season. So he also gets that boost for the 3-point percentage against Missouri, coming in at 7K flat. Yeah, he's been around 25 over his last 2 games, but you don't have to look too far back to get to games where he's pushing for 40 points in back-to-back outings. So I really like what Funk has to do. And before we dive in any further on this DFS side, we've got Luke checking in on YouTube.
Hey,
quick question about the bracket. Wants to know about any Norchad injuries.
Yeah, I think we saw it today. He was practicing today. There was video. Yeah, he was at shoot-around. Anthony G's jumping in. He was at shoot-around today. The game's not till Friday, so it looks like he's going to go. He is the key piece in that Drake-Miami game. Not to go too far off topic here, but if you missed our 3-hour show, you can go back and you kind of follow the brackets, right, going through here. So, yeah, if he plays, it's just a real tough matchup for Drake. But if he's out, man, you got to like some Drake there. But it looks like he's going to play. So, I follow you with the Funk play. I'll have some of him. Probably not as much as the other guys. I'm just having trouble getting away from this game. And there's 16 games on the slate, and these guys are going to be popular, which is kind of scary. Wouldn't you agree with that, Eric?
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, you need to get into this game, right? It's rare that we see 160 point total on the slate at all, right? So really, it's just for me, it's a matter of how you combine these players and what your stacks look like, right? You have to be willing to get a little bit unique in the pairings that you go with, right? Talk about an Ashworth and a Funk, the 2 most expensive players on this side. That probably won't be as popular as maybe an expensive player and kind of a mid-tier player, right? So it's a little bit more about how you pair these guys up as opposed to maybe trying to fade the field a bit.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, my guy Luke here says he watched the 3-hour. I don't even remember that, Luke. I fell asleep halfway through that thing. I woke up and finished the show myself. So appreciate you tuning into that, man. That's awesome. We spent a lot of time all off
and he came back.
Interviews. Yeah, man, we've been doing work, man. So appreciate the the comment there.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us, Luke, and our guy Anthony G in the chat as well. If you're here hanging out with us, don't be afraid. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're here for the first time, thanks for being here. Smash that like button and maybe give it a little to that subscribe button. Just maybe give it a little elbow, whatever it takes to turn on those notification bells so you know when we are going live. Yeah, guys, Missouri's weaknesses are glaring. 267th opposing offensive rebound percentage, 247th in opposing three-point percentage, 322nd in opponents' assist to field goals made. So, like, there are some fantasy points to be had, and we've talked about that all season long, Mike, like you alluded to earlier. Now that we've talked a little bit about how to attack, attack with these Utah State players, let's flip the script and go across the court to Missouri. 10th offensive efficiency, 179th defensive efficiency. Like we said before, they will give up some points. 92nd in tempo. So these two teams will not be afraid. They're both above average in tempo here. Mike, Kobe Brown with that starting pitcher as relief pitcher eligibility that we like so much, the guard/forward. 8,500 there. Are we hanging out with Kobe a little bit? Is that price too much for what we want to look at on this slate? And who else should we look at on these Tigers?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who's going to guard him. Like, he was a terror at times and put up some of his best games against some of the toughest defenses in the SEC. You look at the Tennessee, had a good game against Mississippi State. So, yeah, I don't know. This is a Mountain West team, but Mountain West just got their ass kicked tonight in Nevada, but they probably shouldn't have been in. So, Utah State's obviously got some great shooters, but I like Kobe. I don't know how many people are going to play him, so I feel like his ownership is going to be depressed. So, yeah, most people want to get into this game and want to not spend all their money, right? So, feels like you pay $14,500 for the two most expensive guys on Utah State. You're not going to want to pay $8,500 for Kobe Brown, right? Especially when you have, guys at the bottom of this Missouri team that can get some things done, even though they're more volatile. I'll have some shares of Kobe Brown. Like I said, I'm getting to like 30, 40 lineups tomorrow. So yeah, I'll sprinkle some Kobe Brown in there, especially with the more expensive Utah State guys, because I'm trying to be different when I attack this one. Obviously, I'll have some of my chalky, Kobe Brown with with the Shulga and mix them up with Funk, right, to save a little bit of coin that way. But yeah, I just think using Kobe Brown in different ways, or even as a one-off piece from Missouri, we've seen him go completely bonkers by himself. I don't know, man. I just don't know D'Moy Hodge. Like, I know he's on a kind of a heater right now. I just struggle to play him at that price point. If I'm going to play Brown at all, and if I'm going to stack, I would rather spin down. And I would rather go to DeAndre Golston, who is just playing really well right now and chucking a ton of usage and shots. He's up to 25% in usage rate now and 25% in shot rate. So you look at his game log here, and he's basically 5X in 3 of the last 4, and he took 17 shots in the last game. So if you're telling me there's going to be a million possessions and he's going to take another 17, 18 shots, the peripherals aren't great, but you throw in like a steal and maybe an assist or an additional rebound, and all of a sudden you're talking about getting up there into the 5.5, 6X range. So I'm going to have some Golston. Feels like he's probably going to be pretty popular, being a sub 5K play. Nick Honor has been so annoying all year. I think I got him right once this year. He's 4,400. Yeah, he's in play. He plays minutes, right? But I hate playing guys with a 14% usage rate and a 14% shot rate. Now, he does shoot 40% from 3, so this could be a shootout. It's 9,800 teams tomorrow, I think, guys. So, you're probably going to want to do some things that you normally don't want to do, because you're going to have to leapfrog a bunch of people with different plays, right? So if a lot of people are going to go to Golston in this spot, Nick Honor and Sean East are pivots off him that save you more cash, right? So yeah, it's tough, man. Like, usually we're going against 2,000-3,000 for 10K or whatever, and you triple that now. So yeah, as much as I don't want to play Nick Honor, he's going to make my lineup in 1 or 2 spots. Sean East, maybe 1 or 2 spots where I'm stacking with Kobe Brown. And I glossed over Hodge, Eric. like I just have a hard time paying 8,300. But you kind of know what you're getting at this point, right?
I mean, judging by his last two performances, it certainly seems like it, right? I mean, if you want to go 3 out of his last 4, you're getting 40 points for 8.3K. That's really, paying off right at value. But also, this feels like it's kind of the ceiling here lately for Hodge. So you're buying high. I think the thing to be said most prominently about Hodge, it kind of ties back to our conversation when we were talking about the Utah State side. People are going to be all over this game. And much like you did as you were kicking off this Mizzou side, I think Hodge is probably going to be one of the more overlooked players, right? People are just going to spend the extra $200 and get that dual eligibility with Brown, or they're going to go all the way down, save almost $3,500 and go down to a Golston or even further to an Honor or an East. So I think Hodge probably profiles as the player to be most widely overlooked on this Mizzou side, and it's a unique way to get into this game. In terms of his rates, they all look really solid. He's among the league leaders in usage, or the team leaders, I should say, in usage, 20% there. He's among the team leaders in shot rate, 25% there, 11% assist rate. He can chip, he can dip, 2% block rate, 5% steal rate, 40% from behind the arc on 237 attempts. While we talked about Utah State chucking it up from deep, they also allow opponents to have an increase to the three-point percentage, 213th in the league in opponent three-point percentage. So, ultimately it feels like this game profiles as one where he can probably keep this streak going. I don't think he really has the upside to go much further than 40 or 41 points. But I think the thing that I like about him most is he's probably going to be the least popular out of all of the players that we just talked about.
All right, I'll disagree with you on here because I think he's going to be the most popular player probably in this entire game.
Oh, really?
Because one, we're going to have 6,000 more people that have not played CBB DFS for the last 3-4 months. They're going to click on his name. They're going to see 41, 40, 26, 41. They're going to see Kobe Brown at 23, 45, and 27. And they're going to say, let me just save $200. He did it against Alabama. Oh, my gosh, he did it against Tennessee. Like, let me get Demoy Hodge here. Let me just look over Kobe Brown and maybe stack him with one of these other little guards. I feel like that could be the way. If you're going to tell me that he's going to be, overlooked, then I'm probably going to want to go straight to Hodge. But we don't have – that's the tough thing about, CBB. It's like we don't have ownership projections, right? But just playing against 10,000 people, that half of this field has not been playing – daily like we have. So I think sometimes we get a little bit clouded as to like what our guys that we play pretty much against on a daily basis do. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how this goes.
I just assumed it was the same 1,500 of us just now max entering for the 50K.
It might be, who knows? But Hodge, like you said, Mike, for the game log watchers, is going to jump off the page here. Hodge hasn't been over 8K to roster since mid-January. Like, I think it's the 18th of January. And I would have loved to see him at the mid-7, 7.5, 7.6. I would have loved to be able to pick up that value here. But 8,300 it's steep. But he can definitely get to that 40 range, especially in this one. But it's going to be tough, pace up. Hodge shoots the three well. It's interesting. Again, I agree that he's going to, the game log watch people are going to click that name. I'm probably not going to spend too much time on Hodge. But, Utah State, 213th in opponent three-point percentage. Utah State doesn't force a lot of turnovers. So when you got guys that are, we don't have anybody. Sean East with the 20% assist rate, that looks really appealing right now.
Is he going to play? Like, that's the thing. Like, that's what sucks about Missouri.
It's tough, right? Yeah, but if you're mixing in a ton of different lineups like Mike is, it's worth a shot, especially in this high total projected game. I want to remind everybody that we are going off of KenPom metrics, KenPom projected totals. If you look at your BetMGM or whoever you use as your book, you're going to see that in this one, Utah State is actually favored there by 1.5, and the total's a little bit lower. We use KenPom's rankings as sort of what we go off of on all of our metrics and things like that. It shouldn't discourage you if you look at that total. It should not discourage you from playing players in this game. I think it's going to go over that 155 and probably easily, honestly, in this one. So if you're looking at the lines and you're looking at what we're talking about, just understand that we're using the KenPom numbers here, and that is what we do on this show. Before we move on to that next showcase game, leave us a comment in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking about this first matchup. Let us know if you are in on Hodge. Let us know if you are in on Kobe, or if you are going to spend down a little bit on some of these guards on the Tiger side. On to our second game, which also features the Tigers along with the Wildcats. Meow. Got some cats going on in this piece. Princeton Tigers, 13-point dogs going up against those Arizona Wildcats. 157-point implied total here. Princeton, 103rd offensive efficiency, 138th defensive efficiency, 172nd in tempo, and probably 8,482nd in height. They only have 3 guys 6'7" or taller. Something to consider in this matchup. Definitely, Mike, for Princeton here, where are the points going to come from for the Tigers? Obviously with the 13-point spread, they'll be playing from behind and trying to get some shots up. How should we approach this team that, honestly, I don't know how many people have watched a ton of Princeton this year, but we do know that they have some players that can get some fantasy points here. So what do you think about these Princeton Tigers?
Yeah, well, one thing about Princeton, I mean, look, 4 of these guys play 35-plus minutes, and maybe a little deceiving because there's probably going to be some foul trouble for some of these guys. So, as we like to say, minutes equal fantasy goodness. Well, I don't know, because you kind of brought up, they're kind of small, right? But that's not a great thing against Arizona. So we'll talk about Arizona's side here in just a little bit. But, not a lot of weaknesses for Arizona. Now, they do give up a lot of three-point opportunities. And they do turn the ball over sometimes. So they're 203rd in turnover percentage. So, that's maybe something that you could rack up an additional steal or 2 here. The one thing you can kind of like is the pricing a little bit for Princeton, right? In this type of total, 157 points, if they can somehow keep it close, it feels like at least one of these guys goes 5X. But I worry that some of these guys will kind of be capped at the 4X. All as you like to say, like your Boo Booey, all world name here, Tosan Iwumba, is 8,800. And this guy can get it done in the Ivy League, but this is a step up in competition here against Balo and Tabellis. Almost a 30% usage rate. I mean, he's one of the best passing bigs in the country, though. 32% assist rate. Only carries a 2% block rate. He's only 6'8", so we're going to see how he fares. If he can stay on the floor, 8,800, man, the game has to stay close in order for him to kind of smash that. I wish he was 7,800 in this spot. So probably going to not have much of him. Caden Pierce, he's 7,900. I have a hard time paying for someone that's a 15% usage and 15% shot rate at this price point, right? Is he grabbing boards, right? Yes, but it's gonna be a little bit tougher to grab some boards here against Arizona. So he's probably overpriced as well. I almost rather go to Langboard here. He's 6,300. He's a 3-point shooter, 21% shot rate. They're gonna have to score, so they're probably gonna rely on him to take a bunch of shots here. He's gonna play 1,000 minutes here. Can rack up a steal or 2. Is a good passer. If you can get 4 or 5 assists in this spot, just depends on how he shoots from 3 here. I think he's a little interesting. I don't know that there's really a ceiling for him to get to 30 against Arizona, but this is what I say. I mean, I picked Nevada to beat Arizona State, and Arizona State kicked the shit out of them. So, I mean, this is college basketball, right? Like, sometimes you have to do things against 10,000 teams that are different, right? So a Langford could be somebody that, I mean, no one's going to play him, right? Could be a one-off that wins you $50,000 if he gets hot from three and he's able to play 37 minutes in a game that is going to have a ton of possessions. So, there's also a loco here, Eric. I don't know. I just like the upside with Langford more. What are your thoughts on these four guys that are going to get the minutes as long as they stay on the floor?
Yeah, with the Princeton side, like you said, it's a real tight rotation. So, you like being able to project out based on, solid and repeatable minutes and playing time. But with that, I mean, look, these guys are in for a bit of a rude awakening, facing off against the Arizona Wildcats, right? A lot of them have been running roughshod over the Ivy League. You mentioned it with Awuma, right? Like he has been playing bully ball in the Ivy League, but it's going to be a different story for him facing off against those two Twin Towers down low for the Wildcats. You mentioned the other player that's getting a good amount of minutes here. That's Mataloko. 6.2K for this type of player, it doesn't feel great, right? He can flash and push for 29-ish, 30-ish point ceiling, but really those are the games where he's making all of his threes, and he does that well enough, right? He's a player that is shooting 42% from behind the arc, taking about 100 attempts this year. So when he's seeing those go in, that's when he's getting to those ceiling games. But I mean, a player that's north of 6K with the rates like his, 16% usage, 17% shot, he's okay at handing out some dimes, 12% assists. But really, Awuma is just sopping up all of the rates for this team.
Yep.
So it's going to be a risky play to go to anyone other than him, including Mataloko. But if nothing else, if you're trying to get into this game, I do think that inconsistency in his game logs will draw some ownership away from him.
I would also say too, like, I wish these guys were $1,000 cheaper for Princeton, man. Like, it feels like Awuma should be 7,800, Pierce should be 6,900, Langborg and Loco should be, man, that's the right price for them to take a shot and to really get to a 5X. But I mean, come on, like, and I think Jody's here in the comments here. Oh yeah, and he's even I'm hearing hype the slate. Yeah, I wish the smaller schools were in more an offensive oriented contest. Very true. Like, man, yeah, it would be nice to play some of these smaller schools that we've actually kind of covered over the course of the year. But I don't know, Jay, are you with us, man? Is this more like you can maybe one off this and hope that you're just so different from the field and catch one of these guys at a 5X to win?
Like they're getting paced up, right?
Yeah.
Going for him.
And like Doja Cat said, "Woma, Woma, Woma, let me play a Woma," I think is how that song goes. This is one of those things where we might see a peak game out of this guy. And at 8,800, we might need to get that to get the return here. I just love the rates there so much. I'll definitely be sprinkling him into
no one's going to play him.
What I do because yes, Mike, exactly, because nobody is going to play him at that price, and he might play 38 minutes. Yeah. So I mean, like, it's enticing to at least mix him in there a little bit. Yeah. Hey, Jody, thanks for checking in. We're glad to see you in the comments again. Moving on to this Arizona team, not a lot of weaknesses. I mean, it's just not. You got Tubelis and Ballo at the top of this here. I don't know if I'm willing to pay for Tubelis in this spot at 9,800. I got a feeling this could be a runaway, and he might not get the minutes that we need him to pay that price tag off. Arizona's 4th in offensive efficiency, 41st in defensive, and 9th in tempo. We know they like to get up and down. They can score the basketball, and they can smother you at times as well. Is Tubelis somebody that we should be entertaining here, Mike? Even to be different at a 9.8K? Or
I mean,
is that just too much?
If I play 40 lineups and I play a one time, I'm going to play, and because the woman, like, if he goes for 43, then that means Tubelis is probably going for like 50. So I might play 1 out of 40 like that just to see if it could happen. But there's really not a reason to play Tubelis. Ken Palm plus 13. I haven't seen the Vegas line recently. But yeah, I mean, we know what Tubelis is. Like, he's just awesome. But this is a chance for Arizona to just run away with this game. You don't want to be paying $9,800 and even $8,800 for guys that could be in a potential blowout, unless you're playing 10,000 teams and hope it stays close, and no one else believes that that's going to happen. And then they turn up 96 points between the two of these guys. But yeah, not for me. I'd much rather play Ballo, right? As frustrating as he's been over the last 3-4 weeks to like try to get right. I mean, he's got a 5% block rate, and Princeton, they're 268th in opponent shot block percentage. So these guys are going to go in there. They're going to challenge Ballo, and he's going to – I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with 4 or 5 blocks here. He's going to challenge for a double-double at 7,600. I mean, he could get 38 to 40 in a blowout. So I'll have some exposure to Ballo, but I can't have too much of Arizona because of that blowout. So this may be more of a one-off team, maybe a 2, because some of the guards have gotten a little bit cheaper. I don't know if I'm willing to go to Ramey, right? See, Ramey usually goes off when Tubelis and Ballo aren't playing well, and I just don't see that happening. And Ramey's usage rate 17%. Like, I'm just not really for it, even though he's shooting 41% from 3. Cedric Henderson, he's 6K. Like, that one flash that he had the other day, 41 fantasy points, like, this is not going to happen in this spot. So you can kind of just move away from Ramey and Henderson for me. I'm a little intrigued at Larson just because he's going to go overlooked, and he's someone that kind of does a few things, can grab 4 or 5 boards, can hand out 4 or 5 assists. If he makes his limited shots that he's going to take, grabs a steal or 2 and a block, like, he could challenge for a 25 at 5,500. Like, that's okay. You know what I mean? I just don't see a ceiling because I just don't know that he's going to be on the floor enough here. And then there's a guy that I can't believe his price point when I saw it, Eric. I mean, what's up with that guy, Kriisa, man? Like, it feels like this game might profile well for him. What are your thoughts on Kriisa? Will you take a shot on him, maybe as a one-off?
Yeah, I will, right? My season-long philosophy with regard to these Arizona guards is I'm going to play whichever one is cheapest. And through most of the season, Kirk Kriisa has not been that player. Now, all of a sudden, he is, right? So I like the fact that he has that going for him. This matchup individually, there's nothing about it that profiles particularly well for Kirk Kriisa, right? The weaknesses for the Princeton side, don't exactly set up guards all that well. But what I do think is working in Kriisa's favor is a bit more circumstantial in nature, right? When we were talking about that Princeton side, I was talking about how these bigs down low, I think, are going to really impose their will on this Princeton team, and I think that's gonna be at the hand of a lot of assists coming from Kirk Kriisa, right? Most of his rates are pretty pedestrian overall, but he has a 27% assist rate. He shoots really well from 3. He's taken over 200 attempts there, shooting 37% from range. So if he does get that kick out corner shot, I like him to continue to drain those. But moreover, I think that we're going to see closer to his ceiling game in assists, right? Push for 7, 8, 9 assists. And at 5.2K, I mean, that is a path for a very nice payoff on that price tag.
Is either going to season high in assists or just smash all the threes from the corner, right? Like, I mean, it's one or the other. Kriisa has not been.
I'll take either.
Either one, right? Yeah, he hasn't been this cheap all season long. He's only been under 6K twice. The last time was against UCLA on the 11th. I mean, I remember we were entertaining playing Kriisa at 7K, and now at 5,200, it just I know if you look at the game logs, 2 out of the last 3, that those little guys, maybe worry a little bit about those little guys, but in a matchup like this against Princeton, I think it does profile pretty well with him.
There's a decent chance, Jay, he goes for 31 at 5,200, right? And in a 10,000 person field where he's probably going to not be played. I mean, I'm going to take a shot or 2. I think so, Eric. I mean, it's probably going to absolutely burn us, but
Yeah, but when you look at a guy at that price that you feel that strongly that could end up 5x, 5.5x, like it's there to be had at 5,200. So definitely a play that I am interested in. And Mike, you asked earlier, the Vegas line is 13.5 for Arizona, so not too far off of what Ken Palm has it, right in that ballpark as well. So before we move on to talk about Auburn and Iowa. Leave us a comment. Let us know if you're into some Kerr Kriisa action. If you're going to spend 9,800 on Tabellus a little bit more often than maybe Mike, Eric, and myself will, let us know what you think about this one. Again, it's hard with some of these blowouts, right? Mike, before we move on, actually, let me ask you this question, Mike and Eric. I'll ask you both here. When we're putting together lineups in a situation like this on day one of a tournament, with some of these matchups that have the ability to get lopsided pretty quickly, how much consideration does that play as you're making your lineups? And especially with some of the higher price guys that put up that production on a regular basis for these teams, how do you approach something like that in a slate like this, especially, again, when it's 10,000 of our closest friends going for 50K?
Yeah, I think first I look at it from the perspective of like the ones and twos, right? Like although their team totals are going to be really high, like this is an opportunity for a blowout, for them to get other guys onto the court, for them to rest the final 5 minutes. This isn't the regular season, right? You need these guys every single round. There's not going to be what we see during the regular season where they're out there, with a minute 30 left. You're like, what the hell's going on? It's a 14-point game. So I think that opportunity is there and it's scary. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of play more of the mid-tier guys, the guys that can get there without needing to rest that final 5 minutes. So that's why Kriisa is a little more intriguing. What Ballo I think can get there. So yeah, I attack it that way. And obviously, a lot of players are going to be playing the closer totals, like this Auburn-Iowa game that we're going to talk about, and the first game that we talked about. So getting a little creative sometimes with some of the cheaper plays on the team that's getting blown out, which Princeton doesn't really have. But there's some teams that we're gonna talk about tiers, and there's some teams that have some lower price players under 4K that some of these guys are going to get 25, maybe even 30 minutes, like some of these backup guards. That could get this extra run in a blowout and could pay off 5 or 6x. So, that's just the kind of the way I'm looking at it as I build these 30, 40 lineups tomorrow. Eric, any other thoughts on these blowouts for the ones and twos?
Not necessarily a different thought, but kind of a different takeaway from a similar thought, right? This tournament run is a gauntlet for the teams that aspire to making a deep run. So I think your point about teams getting rest wherever they can if they are blowing a team out is perfectly spot on. And the thing that it really highlights, right, like these guys that are the or near to being the price king on a slate, like they have to get to their ceiling to pay off those price tags. And so if their minutes go down even incrementally, right, 4 or 5 fewer minutes can make all the difference to whether or not they get to value. So I do think it impacts the high price guys most, but overall it just makes pricing sensitivity all that more critical, right? Like you have to find a guy whose floor is one where you can feel pretty confident about them getting to value, right? If you need a ceiling game out of a player that is on the winning side of a blowout, you're probably setting yourself up for a long day.
No doubt about it. It's in these blowout games. I tend to pay more attention to a lot of these that are going to project you to be closer. Some of these if you're going to pay up, right, some of these star players that are going to be actually on the floor for more time that But again, we're going to look at this and Tubelis might drop a freaking, 55 spot and then walk off in 20 minutes. Who knows? Like, this is the thing is like if you're maxing out, Mike, you said you're playing 30, 40 lineups. We're all going to have a handful of lineups in this thing. So like get different, but be smart about it, right? Like don't get too different just for the sake of being different. It is important to find ways to be different, but don't do it, especially, at the cost of being able to fill in the rest of your lineup, right?
Yeah, because how bad are you going to feel when Tabellis has 34 in the fire flame, but then he's sitting the last 6 minutes of the game, and now all of a sudden that flame goes out, and now you just paid almost 10K for someone that went 3.4x. Like,
right.
Seen it
so many times.
Yeah. It hurts. It hurts. There's not really more to say about that. But yeah, not saying don't play Tabellis at all, but it's one of those things where, okay, like you can't play him in 50% of your lineups. Be smart about it and be picky. Because
last point on that. Last point on that is if you're going to play some of the other side, because you need the other side to keep the game close. And if that's going to happen, you need a guard and maybe two guys on the other side. And then that runs you back with someone else from Arizona. Now you end up in a 2-2 where we might see it. We might see a 2 or a 3 get into. It happens every year. Like, every year there's a game where you're like, what the hell is going on here? Like, so yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next game though.
Yeah, let's move on near to Iowa and Auburn. Auburn is a 1-point favorite, 155 implied total on KenPom. That's the same line that Vegas has. Vegas's total is a little bit less than that, but that ain't stopping us from playing some cats in this one. Literally, the Auburn Tigers. Another cat. This is like are half the teams that we're featuring like cat mascots.
Cats and birds.
We've got some Eagles. We've got some Hawkeyes, and then a bunch. We don't need no cats. We need some dogs.
That's on Friday. That's Friday.
Oh, right. That's right. Okay. Let's start with Auburn, though, on this side, Mike. Metrics for KenPom, they're in 49th offensive efficiency, 28th defensive, and 165th in tempo. Again, one player here in that sort of high range, and then some mid-tier options available on this Tiger team. This is going to be a close one. I think that this is the sort of game where you need to pay attention to this line. You need to, figure out a way, okay, if I'm paying up for a guy, this is going to be a close one. So, Mike, are you paying up for Auburn's most expensive player here for your lineup, and where else are you going with the Tigers?
Man, this is going to be an awesome game. But this is a game that could go 20 points under or 20 points over, and I'm going to be frustrated with this game. Like, I already know this is a game that is going to put me on tilt tomorrow because the clash of two different styles, right? Like Auburn, defensive-oriented. Iowa doesn't give a shit about defense. They just want to, get up the floor, shoot
this
down.
Much.
Yeah, so what's going to win out here? And that's kind of terrifying because Auburn sometimes can't shoot. I mean, look at it. Like Wendell Green shoots 29% from 3. Like, oh gosh, like. But I want to play him because if this game goes to a 160, like he's going to have, double-digit points. Like he's going to challenge for 7 or 8 assists. He's going to grab a steal or two, and maybe instead of shooting 29%, he shoots 35, 40%. Now you're looking at a ceiling game for a Wendell Green. Janai Broom though is 8,600, and it's the battle of the stars. We talked about it on the bracket show, right? Janai Broom, Chris Murray. I don't know if there's a 45 or in here. I want there to be so bad, but Chris Murray and Rabracha, who just kind of clogs up the lane there, is really annoying on the glass. So I'm playing a lot of lineups, guys. So I'll have a Janai Broom or two, but it doesn't feel great. I would much rather pay for the cheaper options on this team. Alan Flanagan is somebody that I'm really intrigued with, even though sometimes he's just in the corner sometimes. And at 5,700, like you hate that, but getting a lot of minutes. It's 5,700 in a game that's going to potentially – they're paced up, right? A lot of opportunities here against a defense that is one of the worst in the, of the Power 5 coming into the tournament. So Alan Flanagan is going to get up a lot of threes, 35% on the year. I like him a lot. Katie Johnson, yes, I have to have some, and it is going to be so frustrating to watch because you don't know if this guy's going to give you a 10 or if he's going to give you a 35. just volatile plays on this Auburn side. And it's really going to come down to how this game plays out. So I think I'm in stack mode or just leaving this shit alone for me. Like I'm either playing a 2-2, a 3-2. I don't know if I'm one-offing this shit because I'm not going to take an Allen Flanigan 17 or a KD Johnson, 12 in case this game goes 140 points because that shit's just going to really piss me off. So, sorry, I just kind of got tilted already talking about this game here. Probably the safest guy is Jalen Williams, right? I'd assume you'd have some of him.
Yeah, I mean, shame on you, Jay. You should have hit us with the trigger warning before we jumped into the Auburn side, right?
That's on me.
Pulling back those battle scars from Slate's past. I mean, look, the story with Auburn all year long, specifically with guys like KD Johnson, with guys like Janai Broome, it's just like, where are the minutes? Bruce, just give them the minutes, and these guys are going to go nuclear. And sometimes they do, and that's when they're popping off, and sometimes they'll follow that with a 16-minute outing, right? So definitely a risky team. The player that I think you can make a case is probably the safest on this team is Jalen Williams, right? He's 6.4K, he's a forward. This is a guy whose rates are really right where you want them to be. Usage is a little low at 19%, but 21% shot rate, 20% combined rebound rate. He assists well for a big man, 16% there. He can chip, he can dip 3% on the block side, 2% on the steal side, shoots good from range, 36% from outside. So, he's one of these players that can do a little bit of everything. He can contribute in a number of different ways. And we said it all year long, right? These guys that are just stat sheet stuffers, whenever they are getting paced up, specifically against an Iowa Hawkeyes team that, Mike, I think you said, doesn't give a shit about defense. This is the type of game where there's going to be a few extra possessions, and that can be an extra steal, an extra dime, an extra board. So I do think Jalen Williams is probably the safest play. I know, Mike, you said you're not planning on one-offing this game, but if you do, I think Jalen Williams is probably the player to consider as the one-off play, right?
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. He's probably the safest player of all these guys because we know he's going to play 30 minutes, right?
There are those minutes
God,
again.
like you just look at like Iowa, dude. Like I want Auburn to be Michigan State in this matchup. I want it to be, ridiculous where it's like 80-80 because Iowa doesn't care about defense and Michigan State's more of a defensive team, right? They're not someone that you're scared that's going to go out and drop 80 points on you, but then they drop 80 points on Iowa. I want that to be Auburn, but I also don't want to lose all of my money because Bruce Pearl sometimes with his rotations is absolutely insane. Like we've seen it, like the big game in the jungle against Alabama. Janai Broome was super popular that day. I faded him because I was like, there's going to be some shit happen. You got into some foul trouble. And I don't know. Like this should be a great spot for these Auburn guys to get right offensively. Their two best guys offensively are Wenzel Green, Allen Flanigan, and KD Johnson. Janai Broome has to have other things go his way, and I think he's got to battle these bigs a little bit more. Eric, what were you going to say?
So I don't know if I'm just walking down narrative street here, right? But like every single year we talk about how we get to the tournament and these rotations get shorter and shorter, specifically for these veteran coaches like Bruce Pearl, right? Is this the point where, he stops trying to tweak and play with his lineup and he really gets that, that locked in rotation? Or do you think that it's going to be more the same? Just roll the dice, and hopefully this is the game where he plays them.
These college coaches are out of control, right, Jay? Like when you play larger rotations like Alabama and Nate Oates, like Nate Oates is over there just like, all right, these guys are sucking for 2 minutes. Like, give me like 4 guys to come in here. Yeah. And if they start playing well, they only average 10. They only play 10 minutes a game. Like, cool. And then you're starting next game. Like, what the hell?
Right.
Yeah, I don't trust it.
That's Pearl, right? That's who he is, and the quick trigger, the unpredictability, and you don't really like that. But what I do like is Broome's freaking rates, man. Like, I mean, it's salivating almost. He doesn't just chip and dip. He like takes the whole. Like if you're thinking about dipping a chip into the little can of the
with beans, your hand,
he takes the oversized Frito. And he dips and he gets the whole damn can out. That's what Broome does
those
here.
scoops to work.
Yeah, no kidding. He's paid that price tag off at least 5 times this season, and he hasn't been this cheap since the beginning of February. And before that, it was the beginning of January. So I like Broom in this spot a lot at this price. I understand he's going to have to go up against some bigs here in Iowa, but this game is going to get up and down. Let's hit on those Hawkeyes now. Mike, third in offensive efficiency, 166 defensive efficiency. 66th in tempo, like we said. Auburn getting that pace up here. Chris Murray, the superstar for the Hawkeyes, 9,400 here. I mean, are we – he can pay this price tag off. We know he can, Mike. But in this spot, like, it's frustrating, right? First of all, you hadn't cussed that much on this show probably since I've been hopping on here. Like, and you did it on one side of this game, and then it made you sit all the way back in your chair. This game is going – it already has you on tilt. So tell me why Chris Murray is going to piss you off tomorrow.
Well, his price pisses me off more than anything, right? I mean, he's 9,400, but Auburn's really good defensively, 28th in the country. Like, I don't know if I want to pay 9,400 for Chris Murray in this spot, especially in a game that I fear is going to go under. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be all over the map on this thing. This is the one game where I'm just like, I have hard takes on pretty much every game except for this one because I'm just like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen in this game. So if you want to pay 9,400 for Chris Murray, by all means, I'll throw him in a lineup or two, especially where I'm stacking hard and hoping this game goes over. It feels better to pay down $2,100 and go to Rebracha, but Rebracha's just kind of been Thor X or just like meh, really. So I don't know. The price is right for him, I guess, as far as like where he should be priced. Sanford, McCaffrey, the other McCaffrey, the McCaffrey's McCaffrey, Ulyss, who like I don't know what they're doing with Ulyss anymore. I typed him up and I'm like, I don't know why the hell I'm putting Aaron Ulyss in here. Like I've only been hurt by him. He's probably gonna play 10 minutes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this Iowa side, this is a very frustrating like game to try to stack, but it's one of the more intriguing games to try to stack. So I think you just got to kind of mix and match it. Eric, man, Tony Perkins, like, is this a spot for him? Wendell Green defense, like, I don't know, man. It feels like maybe you want to go here, huh?
Yeah, I mean, look, if nothing else, right? Like we don't leave the table when we're on the heater, right? And Tony Perkins has been playing absolutely out of his mind down the stretch run here. So I like that you're getting in with a player that has exploded, right? His floor has gotten to a point where he's justifying that mid 7K price tag. He's got 49 and 50 spots here in his game log recently, right? So he's got all the things that you're looking for. I think, looking at this matchup in particular, Auburn 331st in opponent free throw rate. You look at Perk, he's made it to 114 times this season. So he is the type of player that can potentially get a few more freebies from the stripe. And, his rates are among the better on the team, right? Murray sops up a lot of that usage, but Perkins is right there among the leaders in the team, 22%, shoots a fair amount, 22% there. And generally speaking, if an assist is to be had on this Hawkeyes side, there's a good chance that Perkins is the one that dished it out, right? So I expect he'll be a bit popular because he is, mid 7K, and there are those 50, technically a 49 and a 51 spot in his recent game log. So he'll probably have a little bit of ownership, but I do think that, he's in a position to at least keep this hot streak going.
When you have Perkins and Rebracha right there, 74 and 7,300 respectively, like, I don't know. I don't think I could pay 7,300 for Rebracha when Perkins is just right there, $100 more. If we're trying to win 50K, right? Yeah. Like with what Perkins' ceiling is here, what we've seen in the last 5 games, we have seen that 17, 5 games ago. But go ahead, Mike.
I kind of like Iowa as either a one-man run back or not really a one-off, but as a one-man run back. Like, pick which one you want. Murray, pick Rebracha, pick Perkins. Screw the other guys, right? But on the Auburn side, like, Iowa's what 300 and I was what are they? They're terrible defensively. 308th in opponent effective field goal percentage. Like they're in the bottom 60 in the country in effective field goal percentage. Two of these Auburn guys, it should be a 2-1 stack. You should be able to get Wendell Green and Flanagan. You should be able to go Green and Williams. You should be able to go Katie Johnson and Wendell Green, Katie Johnson and Broom, Katie Johnson and Williams. Like this should happen. But I don't know. I'm done with my takes on this game. Like screw this game.
Patrick McCaffrey, Connor McCaffrey. I think Ed McCaffrey might even make an appearance for the Iowa team. Christian might be out there too. I would play Christian McCaffrey in this game. No kidding. Gets the job done. Does the little things right. But shoots free throws real good. That whole thing. But kind of guy you'd let your, if you were the coach, you'd let date your daughter, all that stuff. But again, well, hey, listen, I am. Oh wait, not that specific coach.
Not that coach. Different.
But
a coach. If you were a
coach in general, if you were a coach, not the coach of that particular team. I like Perkins a lot on that Hawkeye side. Our last showcase game of the day, featuring our guy that we are so happy is in this tournament. Our guy, Max A. Smith, for those Oral Roberts Golden Eagles, 30-4 on the season, 18-0 in that conference, ran through it, won their conference tournament, and here we are. 22nd offensive efficiency in the country, 106th defensive efficiency, 38th in tempo. You love to see it. Mike, tell me why I should spend 9.9K on A. Smith. Tell me why.
Tell me why. I don't think you should. I'm struggling, guys, because you know how much I love Duke and what they're doing. This is too expensive. This is I hate this matchup for them. We talked about it on our bracket release. We hate this for Drake. We hate this for Oral Roberts. Like, they're not paying $9,900 for this guy. What are we doing? Yeah, like
I don't know. Micah's on
Feldman.
The other side. Max
Micah,
finally on the slate. Just take my money. Micah, I'm with you. I've been
Let's
waiting
go,
to play this guy all season long.
Let's go.
No,
I don't care.
No,
I don't care if he's too expensive. I'm at least going to fire him up one time.
Mix him in.
Have some respect.
We want Micah to win $50K. We're not going to tell this guy to spend 9.9K on a guy that's going to need to score 34 points and hand out 6 assists against.
This is true. Hold on. Everyone, clear out. All right, Micah. It's just me and you here. Okay. Don't play Max A. Smith. I will play him for us out of respect. I've been waiting to play him all season long, but I will be your Huckleberry, as we were.
I hate you. Whatever. I'm not playing Max A. Smith at 9,900. He's going to finish in like a 36. It was a nice run. We wish we got a better matchup here. Connor Vanover. Don't like this matchup because there's a little, as Jay would say, Filipowski and Derek Lively there.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck with that. And then, in case one of them gets in foul trouble, here comes the bruiser Ryan Young from Northwestern to put his ass in foul trouble here. But I just can't get around on the pricing here. Like, screw you, DK. Just like Princeton, all these guys should be 1,000 less, right? Like, A. Smith at 80 should be 8,900. Vanover should be 7,200. Yeah. McBride should be 50. I would play McBride at 5,300. But I'm not touching these guys. Like Jurgens, I'm not playing him. Like, it would have surprised me if Oral Roberts won. Like, I mean, no, but I don't think it's going to be like 82 to 81. Like, if Oral Roberts wins this game, like Duke's going to not shoot well from three. Right. And Max A. Smith is going to have a pretty good game. They're not going to let him I don't think they're going to allow him to beat them. There's enough film. We've seen it already. There's all the talk about it, right? Like, it's not like he's sneaking up like he did 2 years ago. So, I don't know. I'm not playing anybody on Oral Roberts, and that sucks. But what do you got, Eric?
I mean, I think I've got a similar line, right? I'll probably put A. Smith in there one time just out of respect and know that is a lineup that I'm burning.
Put some respect on his name.
I've been waiting to play him all year long. I'm not going to let this opportunity pass, but that doesn't mean it's a good play. I mean, I guess the only player we haven't really talked about here is Kareem Thompson, right? Another player that I wish was $500 to $800 cheaper. I mean, his rates leave a lot to be desired, but he's one of the guys here towards the back end of this rotation that has at least shown some decent upside, right? He's got a couple 35 pluses, a 28 in his game log, so you'll certainly take that at 5.8K. Maybe if we're looking at a blowout, we see him get a little bit more run, right? This is a player that can mess around and get a 19-minute game, get into the low 20s in his minutes. So if he gets a few more minutes, maybe he's got a chance to get to that upside. But ultimately, I mean, from top to bottom, this is just such a tough matchup for the Golden Eagles. It's not going to feel good to click really any of their names.
It's going to feel so good to smash A. Smith at one time. Just put him in the lineup, baby. Just do it.
You just got to do it once.
One time, man. One time.
Not if you're single entering.
No, if you're firing that one
you're
bullet.
Psycho.
I like to. I've been called worse. Anyways, let's move on now to I will play A. Smith one time just to do it, but I do like the Thompson play, Eric, a lot. Somebody that going to look at some recent the game log watchers might look and see that 15 and 16 recently and might scare them off a little bit. But this is Thompson, somebody that I think could go 5x even in this tough matchup. And like you said, Eric, if it is a blowout, I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think it will be a little. I think they're going to hang around.
Y'all want that so bad.
No, but
I don't even know if y'all believe that. Y'all just want it to happen.
Can we manifest this? Like, is this going to be like an 84 to 83 game? Like, yeah, like Eric almost manifested.
I'm not doing another show if this game is 84, 83 and he pays off fucking 9,800.
We'll be here. We'll be here on Friday doing it again. We'll write it and we'll do it live. Let's go down to Duke. Those Blue Devils.
This makes me happy. All right.
You Devils, you. All right, so Mike's in his happy place. Duke is 41st offensive efficiency, 25th defense, 289th in tempo, slower than Christmas. But
getting paced up.
They are getting paced up quite a bit. We like to see that. Is it worth the $9K to roster Filipowski here, Mike? And then other than that, after $9K for Filipowski, lots of guys in that mid-tier, maybe even one in the lower range to pay attention to for these Dukies. Who you got on this side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, Filipowski, it's okay. But $9K, I mean, like, you're telling me I can get the rest of the roster for $6,500 or cheaper? I'm going right there. You're telling me I'm going to get Jeremy Roach, who's, playing a pile of minutes and 23% usage rate, 20% assist rate, only still shooting 34% from three, but he's, going to have to knock down some threes for this team to be successful. Is the same story as last year. Can he make an open shot? Oral Roberts, they struggle on the offensive rebounding, 305th in the country. So kind of one shot and done for them. And they're 203rd in opponent three-point percentage. So Roach, if gets a few more clean open looks, I like him. Mark Mitchell, I don't know that I can play him at 5,600. More of a junkyard dog, right? Tyrese Proctor, he gets a pile of minutes. I love him for a large field. Like, it's not pretty, but against 10,000 teams, like Tyrese Proctor has shown he can go for 30 fantasy points. Usage rate, okay, 19%, shot rate, okay, 19%, and 10% assist rate has shown a little bit more upside there recently. He should still be in high school. So the fact that, it's the end of the year here, he's starting to come into his own. So I don't mind playing him in the large field. Don't think he's going to be pretty overlooked. Derek Whitehead at 4,100. Like, I don't know where if he's going to get enough minutes to pay it off, but we've seen him pay off this salary in 20 minutes. So could he go for a 20 and 5X? Yeah, absolutely. So I'll have me some Derek Whitehead here. He might get some extra run. The game, it do kind of handles up. I glossed over Lively. If he can stay on the floor, he's awesome, right, Eric?
I mean, that's really the key for him, right? And it seems like, down the stretch run here, he's been doing that a lot better, right? There were a lot of games earlier in the season where he's getting to 2-3 fouls pretty quickly. He's falling out of the game altogether. The thing that I like about Lively, he's cleaning up the foul stuff, so he's getting more and more minutes, and specifically, kind of following the theory that there's going to be a bit more unfamiliar players in the pool for this tournament tomorrow. People are gonna want to be on Duke, right? We talked about this during the bracket show. Ken Palm has this as a much closer game than the betting markets do because the betting public loves being on Duke. I think that parallel is going to carry forward.
Smart people
DFS
like being on Duke.
But I think Derek Lively is probably not going to be all that popular, right? 6.3K. You look through his game logs, he's not really paying that off all that often. His rates are terrifying for his price tag. 13% usage, 13% shot. You do like his 30% combined rebound rate, and 13% block is madness, right? So you should be able to use that athleticism to get a couple extra blocks tomorrow, and specifically up against this Oral Roberts side, 305th in offensive rebound rate, right? So he's already got 30% combined rebound rate, which is near the elite in the entire league. He collects a few more boards, he collects a few more blocks, and all of a sudden he is paying off that price tag easily. And again, I don't think he's going to be all that popular amongst a team of players that people are going to be trying to get to.
I agree with that there. Got to stay out of foul trouble. Lively does. If he doesn't, then that's 6.3K down the tube. I want to talk real quickly about Jeremy Roach. There's only twice since just about the end of January that he hasn't played over 30 minutes. One of those games was against Pitt when they absolutely beat the dog. They beat them badly. Okay, we'll say that. I'm not going to go down the road that Mike took earlier. I'm not going to do it.
Take the high road, Jay.
I thought that you know me. I usually do take the high road. But the other side, the other time before that he didn't make 30 minutes was against Georgia Tech, and they dog walked them too. Roach is going to play. I do want to see him more, in the 5 to 6 to 7 3-point attempts. I would love to see that. He hasn't been shooting as many lately. But I need him in that 5, 6, 7 attempt range on the threes. And I would love to see that for Roach. Okay. 4 games, 1, 2, 3, 4 in that showcase. Leave us a comment if you're hanging out with us right now. Let us know what you think about those showcase games. Let us know if you think that Eric and I are crazy for smashing that Ace Miss button at least once. Put some respect on that name, Mike. I'm looking at you. But either way, let's move on now. We like to give y'all our tiers. We go high, mid, and then low. Give you some plays in each one of those tiers for some teams and some players that we haven't hit on yet. So, Eric, I'm going to start with you in this high tier. Couple of guys with it looks to me like you're going to go down the old Jalen road here with a couple of players. Why should we be interested in our guys Pickett and Wilson?
Yeah, nice little 2-pack of Jalen's to start off the high price tier. Jalen Pickett, nearly the price king, $100 less than our price king, Brandon Miller. 10.1K is a price tag that I think is going to scare a lot of people away. So, there should be a little bit of leverage on the field in general. But I mean, he's the type of player that can push for a triple-double on any single night and pay off that price tag. So don't mind him there going up against the Texas A&M Aggies. And then the other Jalen Wilson, 9.3K, pretty reasonable price tag for him overall. Facing off against Howard, he's much more of a floor play, right? You look through his game logs and he's basically always in the low 40s. So, to pay off 9.3K, that'll do just fine. But he doesn't seem to be reaching back and kind of pushing for those 50 spots that you want for a ceiling play. So Jalen Wilson, good way to get points overall, but I think he profiles a bit more as a cash play.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If you're going to pay up, for a couple of these guys, Pickett has just been ridiculous lately, and he might, as our guy Ice Cube has said in the past, he might fuck around and get a triple-double here. So
he said this is
I did it! I did it!
Jay, what did we just talk about?
I didn't take the high road. I'm gonna jump in here and give a couple of guys that I like in this high tier. Santiago Vescovi for Tennessee, 7,800 there, going up against Louisiana. Knows Zakai Ziegler, right? So Vescovi's had to pick up a little bit of that slack. Love to see it in this spot. It's a good spot for him. He is the most expensive Tennessee player on the slate, and we know that Rick Barnes will be happy winning 50 to 48. But Vescovi could get a chunk of those fantasy points no matter what. I'm also going a little bit lower here in this tier than you, Eric. Vescovi at 7.8. And I'm going to go Marcus Carr here at 7.6K for Texas. Good bounce back spot for Carr. Hopefully he can continue to play off the ball and spot up and shoot some threes. Colgate is 4 out of 5 dentists would not recommend using them in this matchup against Texas. So we're going to go ahead and pick Marcus Carr here at 7.6K. Good bounce back opportunity for him in this spot. Mike, let me get off of this screen and stop talking, and you tell us about a couple of guys in this high tier.
My God, I have to follow the Colgate reference. Jesus, man. All I got's Adonis Foyle from 1994 from Colgate. All right. Anyway, so I'll go kind of in the mid to the high tier here. Terrence Shannon, this Illinois-Arkansas game could be one of the ugliest things that we see. They can't shoot neither side, and there's some talented players. This is kind of crazy to me, but at 8,100, Shannon's flash 5x upside. So, if this game goes over, I could see Shannon having a big game. I'll mention Drew Pember here. This isn't a great matchup, obviously. Going against UCLA from UNC Asheville. If you guys haven't seen him play, he's a transfer from Tennessee a few years ago. Just a ton of fun to watch. It reminds me of if Jay was 7, almost a 7-footer and had the old hair back in the day, man. Look, right? He's not going to go for 50. Could he squeak out a 40? Because he's not going to come off the floor. I don't know. It is a leverage play for sure. I don't know that we need to go there, but you're playing mass multi-entry, and it might not be a bad idea trying to beat 10,000 teams to play him on one lineup.
Yeah, I know Pember was somebody that you were excited to see in this tournament, and then drew the matchup that he drew, and then
against the number one defense.
Yeah, great, super. But he is somebody to consider definitely playing here. Myron, I'm hoping that you're still hanging around after that quality humor that I was dropping earlier. But glad to see you back in the chat, my guy. Good to see you around again. Thanks for dropping that comment in there. And hopefully for sticking around still through that mess. Let's move on down to the old mid-tier. Mid-tier. Eric, I'm going to start with you again here. This is there's going to be a lot of guys in this tier that I'm interested in playing. I don't know if the mid lineup all up and down the board is the way to go here. But there's definitely some intriguing plays here. And yeah, if you're playing 30, 40 lineups like Mike, it's worth sprinkling in a couple where you just go, through and you live in that mid tier. Who are you living with? Who are your roomies, Eric, in this mid tier?
Man, this mid tier is absolutely stacked, right? We have a lot of guys that should be a couple hundred, if not over $1,000 more than where they're sitting right now. The guys I'll talk about here might not necessarily fall into that category. I'll start with Nick Smith. He's 7.3K. Mike mentioned it when he was talking about Terrence Shannon. this game against Illinois can end up being hot mess altogether, right? But ultimately, Nick Smith might be one of, if not the most talented player on the court tomorrow, and usually those types of players aren't really sitting in the low 7Ks, right? So, there's some risk involved, but he's got 48 spots, he's got 40 spots, like he's absolutely popped off and paid off that price tag handsomely. So like how this one sets up for Smith specifically from a leverage standpoint. And then I'll go over, talked about Jalen Wilson. I'll talk about his teammate here, Grady Dick, sitting at 6.9K. I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride with this guy, right? So you are rolling the dice a little bit. He's got a 19, he's got a 9, he's got a 22 in his game logs. He's also got a 31, and he's gotten north of 30 several times this year. So Kansas, they've got a high team total. I think people are going to be looking for ways to get into this game, and I think Grady Dick might be an interesting way to do it.
Definitely. Totally agree with you there. I'm going to jump in again here in this mid-tier, and I'm going to hang out in this Arkansas-Illinois matchup a little bit. First of all, a couple of players from the Razorbacks. Mekhi Mitchell at 5,700. You want to talk about volatile, right? Grady Dick is volatile, but Mitchell is super volatile. You look at that game log, 3 in a row in single digits, but then the last two, 37 last time out, 24 the time before that. Either one of those, I think you'd be kind of comfortable with, especially the 37. No doubt about that. I think I will lean a little bit more towards Devo Davis here for the Razorbacks out of these two. Big time minutes, is going to play a ton. Is it always there? No, but another volatile sort of a play. But at this price, if he hits, at even 25 where he was a couple of games ago, you look at that 32 and 29, 4 and 5 games ago respectively. Big time minutes. Feel like Devontae Davis can get it done for you in this spot. And then here we go, Mike. I get to say it this time. The all-world name Dane Danger for Illinois. Obviously at 5,500. Why does he only cost 5,500?
Because he sucked recently.
He has sucked recently, but this is a good spot for him against Arkansas. Even if he gets to that 27 that you saw last time out against Penn State, this is, he's shown the potential to pay this price off and then some. It's just way too cheap. I'm going to have a handful of Dane Danger plays here, Mike, and I just don't see any way around it. At this price, man, you got to take a shot. I got to take a shot on it.
Yeah, if you played him at 7,000, why wouldn't you take a shot or two on him at 5,500?
Bingo.
So yeah, I'll have a few shots with him, and I'm expecting a 10, but I'll be pleasantly surprised. I won't be as mad after I watch the Iowa game, so I won't have much anger left for him. Yeah, I'll give up some quick shooters here. Houston, I'm kind of off on. If you want to play Javon Roberts, these two, I mean, some of these guys are too expensive. I'm really just going to play Tremont Mark, 6,800. It's probably going to be a blowout here, so I don't know that you need to go there. Amari Bailey, he's 6,800. He's real intriguing, especially with Jalen Clark, season-ending injury, right? He's going to have to step up and really be that third horse there. Has been playing really well lately, getting the UNC Asheville defense. So love me some Amari Bailey. Haven't really dove into the Maryland, West Virginia side. Hakeem Hart's interesting only because he plays 1,000 minutes. Whether he does anything with those 1,000 minutes is yet to be seen. But he can touch upwards of in the high 20 or 30. So if you absolutely want to get into this matchup, and you want somebody to cheer for in the first game, I would say Hakeem Hart's your guy. I may take 1 out of 40 on him. Triple J from Tennessee, Josiah Jordan James. Man, gotta like Tennessee here because it feels like they're going to get into at least the 70s this time against Louisiana. So at 6,100, I like me some Triple J. Matt Bradley, San Diego State. When I saw Kim Palm's projected total for San Diego State, I was like, have they ever scored that amount of points? I think it's 74. So Matt Bradley's their best offensive player. It's not going to feel good clicking his name, but when he returns at 28 to 30, you'll probably feel a little bit better. If he doesn't, then I told you got to be careful. So there's a little caveat to it. Isaac Mashila, we saw him on the first 4 matchup. It gets a major price cut because now he gets Alabama. But, I mean, it's Alabama. It's a peso spot. Yeah, they are a top 5 defense. But, I mean, at 5,900, the guy's going to play 35 minutes, right? Maybe some extra possessions to go there. Could he rip off a 5X? Maybe. Raheem Mashila, Bradley, Hakeem Hart, those guys are more of a, super contrarian plays in large field tournaments. I definitely like Triple J, Amari Bailey, and Trevon Mark more for all types of tournaments.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Get these guys in here on, with some of these prices, it's just too juicy to pass up, especially, again, I'm going to say it every time we talk about Triple J. It ain't Double J. It ain't JERRERETT Intercontinental Champion Jeff Jarrett. No, this is Triple J for Tennessee in a good spot against Louisiana. We got our guy Kevin D.
Back.
Dude, speaking
Kevin's
of
back.
juicy,
Welcome back, Kevin. Yeah,
Kevin was in here. He was planting the flag on the Memphis upset over Purdue a few nights ago. Now he's doubling down. Fairleigh Dickinson, everyone's favorite team that made it in on a technicality, advanced through the play-in game, and now Kevin is saying they're going to bounce Purdue.
I think what Kevin saw was that post-game the coach talking shit about Purdue and how they're not playing well. And what was it? Foster? What did that? Not Foster. I always want to say Foster Lawyer, Fletcher Lawyer, with that nice tweet that said Purdue by 100. So they're already talking shit. Fairleigh Dickinson is the shortest team in college basketball, 363rd in average height. I don't know. Are they going to have a prize pick for Zach Edey rebounds, or is it just going to be like 20?
Yeah, 40, whatever. Take the over still, smash it. But yeah, Kevin, from your mouth to whatever God you pray to, Allah or Jehovah or whatever, I wouldn't mind watching Purdue fall early. If you've paid any attention to our shows, if you've been hanging around us, you know the disdain that I have for Purdue, and I'm a little sour that they are on that one line, but that's neither here nor there. One more tier here before we get out of here, guys and girls. Eric, I'll start with you again. Might as well keep the rotation going on these tiers. Let's go down to that low tier. Who do you got for under 5K, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier, right? There are going to be several teams that are going to be on blowout watch that are going to open up some value towards the back end of their bench. And for me, one of the clearest examples is Alabama, right? So I'll start with Charles Bediako. I mean, this kid is an absolute load, 7-footer. Like, he should be able to just absolutely have his way against Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and specifically following that blowout game narrative. Jay, I think the way you like to put it, Alabama beat the brakes off of Texas A&M in that SEC title game. That was also the game where Bediako had his ceiling game of 43 points. So obviously you love that at 4.8K. And then I'll stick with Alabama here. Go over to Rylan Griffin, 3K flat, right? The guard here for the Crimson Tide. Similar story. Think we're looking at a blowout. Last time they played, the last game that they played in was a blowout, and we saw him get to 16 points. So certainly happy with that for a min-price player. I like a lot of the cheaper options for the Tide overall, but these two really jump off the page for me.
Not very often do we recommend someone at the min price, but Griffin is definitely someone to entertain. Why not? Guys, it's March Madness, baby. Eat it up. Let's go. Yeah, it's a good play. I like that, Eric. I'm going to go back to Texas. I touched on Marcus Carr a little bit in that high tier. A couple of Texas players here. First, I'll start with Christian Bishop at 4,700. Not a lot of people are going to have him in their lineups, right? Like somebody maybe to pivot off of some of these more higher price players. If you don't go Marcus Carr, if you don't go Dylan DeSue, if you don't go Timmy Allen, Bishop is somebody to definitely consider here. And this spot has shown that 32-point upside within the last couple of games. So you really like that. And then, Mike's guy, Tyrese Hunter, super high upside, but just as volatile as he's just as volatile as he has an upside for I don't. That was like alphabet soup right there. It's not. You knew what I was trying to say though. It's tough. But at 4,700, just like Bishop, Hunter's worth sprinkling into a couple of lineups just because he's that good of a basketball player, and the upside is definitely there. With Texas projected to score 80 points, maybe even more in this matchup, there's going to be enough to go around here. And if you're feeling froggy, why don't you mix in my guy BCB, Brock Cunningham? Why not? Throw him in there, 4,400. He's going to play a little bit of minutes here. He's going to dive on the floor and get every loose ball because that's what he does. He's the glue guy. All right? Let's go. For me, out of these Texas guys in this lower tier, I will rank them Hunter, Bishop, Cunningham, but mix them all in, get a little bit of that Longhorn fever in this matchup versus Colgate because they are going to definitely score some points. We got our guy Myron back in the chat here. What do we got here on this?
Yeah, from Houston. Yeah, he started last game, played really well. Do we have what's going on? It's a groin injury, but they're saying he's probable to play. It's gonna be a blowout. So I don't think they might not even play him honestly. If it's any type they're still gonna kill these guys. And even if he's out there, he might just be for 10 minutes. 5 minutes to start the game, 5 minutes in the second half. But those groins are, man, that's a tough. Those and hamstrings, that sucks, man. Those are ones that can flare up real quick. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll have to follow the news as we always do and see. It feels like there's not going to be as much news as we're usually waiting for now that we have all eyes on CBB. It won't be 5 minutes after lock where we find out someone's not playing.
It's nice.
All eyes
getting
on
this news out here.
But I'll finish it up here in the low tier. A lot of options, which is going to, like Jay stated as we started the show, and we'll try to get you guys out of here shortly. You can make any lineup that you want because there are so many cheap plays. For Colgate, unfortunately, they beat the crap out of a bunch of people in the Patriot League, and now they have to play against a tough Texas defense, and all their guys are priced up. But Olivier Lynch-Daniels at 4,900 is a little intriguing. Going to play 30 minutes. Texas likes to run up and down. He's the one guy I would probably touch from Colgate here. But he's not he's more of a 1 out of 40, 2 out of 40 type play for me. Darian Trammell, we talked about Bradley. He's kind of the other guy that can get his shot going against Charleston, who's going to pace San Diego State up. If they're going to score 74 points, I'd be willing to bet Bradley and Trammell are the two guys that are going to do it. Cameron Winter, he's come out of nowhere. I don't know what the deal is with this guy. All he does is hit game-winning shots, I guess. But yeah, could he get into the mid-20s? Yeah, this Texas A&M game environment is not fun. I would almost rather take a shot at some of these Howard guys that are going to get some run here against a fast Kansas team. Yeah, Jelani Williams, he's 4,600. This is a guy that can put up some fantasy points in a hurry, and you only need a 25 at this price point to really set you off. So I like Jelani Williams, but I also don't mind Marcus Dockery. He's 3,600, and he's someone in a blowout that could get you 20 fantasy points. So, don't sleep on some of these guys on the blowout teams. They're going to get 28 to 30 minutes of run, and those last 5 to 8 minutes are going to just be, get some backups here and things like that. So those are the two guys that I'm looking at from Howard. If you're going to play someone from Charleston, which it's terrifying because they run a huge rotation out there, and they're playing San Diego State's defense. Smith here at 4,400, he's okay. Could he flash for a 25 to 30? He could. Doesn't feel great though. The Tennessee guys Tennessee's going to handle business. They're 11-point favorites. I've seen Louisiana play in person here in Austin. Other than Jordan Brown, they got a ton of guards that they play, but Tennessee still got talent. Tyreek Key is a great scorer from Indiana State that came over. Jermaine Mashack has shown a lot, this year. So both of them are at 4,100, and both of these guys, we have played and hit 5X over the course of the last 2 weeks with this guy Ziegler injury. So I'll be mixing and matching Mashack and Key on a lot of probably on 33, I would say a third of my lineups, because this is a good spot for them against Louisiana. They're projected to score 70 points. So I do like Mashack and Key. Key coming off the 29, Mashack coming off a 21. Mashack had a 30 a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, get those guys in. Mashack's a starter. Key will come off the bench most likely, or may start here. We don't know what kind of lineup Barnes is going to roll out here. And then Howard also has Shai Odom at forward, who could do some damage here. And you just don't know. Like, kind of spin the wheel on Howard, right? Because they got some cheap options that could pay a bonus, and not a lot of people are going to play these guys. They're going to be sub 3% type plays. So 10,000 teams, guys. Like, you got to do something weird and wacky every now and then. There's a ton of plays down here that you can obviously mix and match and make something crazy.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. That pretty much puts a cap on the DFS side of things. Before we get y'all out of here, Mike, you've been on a little bit of a little heater, pumpkin eater lately with some of your bets on the numbers. Yeah, forget the curveball, give them the heater. You got 4 bets here. We don't have a core 4 tonight, guys and girls. Just too many plays to consider. Way too many. You're going to be able to get any type of lineup that you want. So no core 4 plays for DFS, but we do have a core 4 for your betting slips. Mike, what are you looking at here? Give the crowd what they want on some bets.
Yeah, give me the over on Utah State and Missouri. I think this is going to be absolutely insane here. Just back and forth, like just basket after basket. Utah State, a great 3-point shooting team. Missouri loves to run up and down. Kobe Brown is going to be an issue for Utah State. If you don't want to go money line Furman, like me, I would suggest Furman +5. This seems like the upset that's going to happen to me. The more I look at it, I saw a weird stat today that said, I think I sent it to you guys, where Furman is like almost, I think they've only lost one game where their opponent has shot over 40% from 3, 40% or better. And Virginia hasn't shot 40% since like last January or something like that. So all signs point to Furman.
Since the Reagan administration, I think.
Something like that. I like the over in Maryland, West Virginia, if you want some action in the early one. And then I like the money line on Penn State, but the +3.5, if you think it's going to be a tight one. The way they've been playing, I don't care that they lost to Purdue. Like like Jalen Pickett is just such a star. And it's not just because it's the Aggies, I promise. But +3.5 for Penn State, I would take them straight up here, guys.
I wouldn't even be mad if it was because it was the Aggies. Penn State's just playing damn good right now. And that's something to consider too. If you're not into those money lines, if you're putting together some parlays, either one of these teams getting points, and I'm talking about Furman and Penn State here, definitely something to consider when you're clicking those buttons. Anything we need to do before we wrap up, boys? 16 game slate tomorrow. Big time stuff. We are going to be all over this slate. Anything we need to, polish up here before we sign off?
I'll let Eric have the last word. I'm just going to say that I think we need some rest. But how can we rest when there's 32 games coming in the next 48 hours? Yeah. Eric, what do you got?
I think the biggest thing to keep in mind, like, it's wide open. You can do whatever you want. We talked about this a little bit when we were breaking down the Auburn side of that game. The key to having a successful lineup that is going to rocket up that pay scale is correlation, right? You're looking for guys that you can play together where one will play off the other and vice versa, or you're looking for a game scenario that is going to set up nicely, right? If Auburn is in fact giving their best players minutes, those are the guys that you're looking to stack. And what is the one run back piece that you need from Mizzou, right? So, very much so, you have to find correlation in order to really get differentiated. And you kind of have to go all in on a game script or a narrative that you believe is going to be the outcome, right? That is the best way to maximize the upside of your builds.
No correlation without representation. I think that's what the Boston Tea Party was about, if I'm not mistaken. Look it up in your history books and tell me otherwise. Yeah, it's how this damn stuff all started. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been One and Done. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us tonight. I've got the DFS Avenger himself at MC Holland34 on Twitter, Mr. Mike Holland. We've got at Fantasy Nav on them Twitter streets. That's where you can find him, Mr. Eric Romoff. I am Jay Heinrich, your humble conductor of this Green Screens Media train. Follow me on Twitter at Dr. William Cannon for a bunch of shit posting and retweets and all that stuff over on Elon's hellhole. You know, guys, it's Willie Wednesday, as evidenced by the 1955 Bowman Willie Mays here sitting behind me, right next to my my sugar skull there. It's also Winning Wednesday. You know why it's Winning Wednesday? Because we broke down this 16-game slate, so you can show up tomorrow on Thursday with $50K to first and get this damn bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.